And what is up, everybody? I am Joe DeHoyos. I am the host of Beyond the Woodline, as most of you people should know. Before we get started with the show, I always like to talk about what it is I do and what I'm involved with. Most of you guys know that I'm involved with the JRG, which is a Jevning Research Group. I'm the executive director for Mr. William Jevning. He's a good guy. He's been in the field, man, I bet close to 50 years now. Um, Probably a lot more than what he's willing to admit. But he's a good guy, one of the best out there. And he was actually friends with Renee Hendon and John Green, which are two of the pioneers in the Bigfoot world. And so he was really good friends with those guys, even as a teenager. But yeah, he started up the Jevning Research Group, and we've got teams in Maryland, Ohio, Oklahoma, Florida, Tennessee, Oregon, California, of course here in Texas where I'm at. And I'm probably missing a few other states, but if you're interested in helping out and joining this research and going out and looking for this elusive creature, we'd love to have you. Contact me at beyond.woodline@gmail.com. If you're in a state and we don't have a team, you could either create your own team or we do have people that we network with and that we do know. So if you want to go out with somebody and check it out, you know, uh, what's the worst that's gonna happen, right? You can, even if you don't get any action, at least you're outside and you're camping, sitting around a campfire. And to me, that's even the best part of doing the Bigfoot thing. We always eat good at least one night. Um, so yeah, if you're interested, hit me up and we'll get you settled and we'll find you somebody. And also, you don't have to go out into the field if you can't or if you don't want to. That might not be your thing. You can research from your laptop on your cell phone. You can find places for us, find witnesses for us, the history of locations, right? And even techniques. If you have a technique for us you want us to use, man, let us know. We'll try anything once. But with all that being said, I know you guys don't tune in to hear me run at the mouth. I have with me tonight Mr. Brent. Is it Harker? Harker?
Yep. Yep.
Brent Harker. Yeah, I looked up your last name. I just couldn't remember it off the top of my head. But it's Brent Harker, and he is with um, Ghost
Ghost
Hunter
Hunter Society.
Center of Fort Wayne, right?
Yep. Ghost Hunter Society, Fort Wayne. Yep.
Yeah, yeah, cool, man. So if you don't mind, tell us a little bit about yourself and what got you involved with the paranormal.
Well, I my my day job is I work in at, at Notre Dame and sequencing facility. So we sequence DNA. That's my day job.
Oh, nice.
Um, and I've really kind of been into the whole paranormal thing ever since I was, gosh, I think that was middle school
Mhm.
age, basically, when I was in our house there, and my mom and dad would leave and like go out, for the night. Because I was old enough to watch myself, and we had my dad had this old, like, he like collect clocks, so he had this clock that had a wood bar on the top, and you had a weight on each side, and you would have to swing it, and then it would click back and forth.
Oh, okay.
So I was just sitting there at night watching TV one time when they were gone, and it started going off by itself. I'm like, okay, well, that's weird. So I took one weight and I put it on the other side so it shouldn't move, and it kept doing it. I'm like, oh, okay.
Hmm. Yeah.
And then I found out my mom, after I was in college, she had things that happened to her in that same house when I was gone. Like she would come upstairs, and like in one of the windows would be open upstairs and stuff. And I was like, well, it's weird. But I never had that happen.
Right. Yeah, that's
And
strange.
then it all kind of started with the whole, when it became kind of, we started getting into the TV shows and stuff, and that's what like kind of pushed me to the wanting to actually go out and do it. But, yeah.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. I guess having a clock go off like that would be kind of weird and kind of trippy, right?
Well, and that's why I was doing the most I could think of at the time. I was like, well, if both weights are on one side, it should not tick back and forth, and it still did. I'm like,
Did you know the history of that house by chance?
I really don't. It was like just of some random house in Napanee, Indiana that we moved into. I don't know.
That's cool, man.
And then like actual doing in terms of doing investigations and going out to places, I've been doing that for since about 2015, 16, somewhere around there.
So what got you involved with that? What got you involved with the paranormal in that respect?
Um, just from the main thing was from watching the various shows on the TV. Like back then, there wasn't as many. Like when I first started doing it, even going back before that, like in 2011, like watching the what's the one from England? It was Most Haunted. Um, and then there was some other one like Fear was on MTV. That where they had the celebrities doing the challenge and these haunted locations, and that's like that sounds like that seems fun, and so that's what led us to start doing it, and then no earth shattering like groundbreaking things happened in my life. Like I woke up and saw an apparition. No, I mean nothing like that has ever happened to me.
Yeah, well, never say never.
Not yet, anyway. Yeah, it hasn't happened yet.
Yeah. So like, what was like one of the first places you actually went to investigate?
The very first investigation we did, my wife and I, we went to, and it was one of those public ones, so we didn't know any better. We're like, oh, that should be like, they have like, oh, come and meet these celebrities and do it. Then after you do those for a while, you're like, yeah, it's better to just do it by yourself. But we went into Ohio State Reformatory
Okay.
in Mansfield, Ohio there. And then that was right around the same we did Randolph County Infirmary in Winchester, Indiana as well. They were both very similar, close in time to each other.
Okay. And did you get any kind of activity there or anything you picked up on or?
Um in the reformatory, no, because like I said, it was one of those. I mean, there was like I can't say no, but there was one of those. It was one of those large public things. There was like I think 180
Oh
people.
wow, yeah.
So and they're so like, if so many people are so loud and you can't tell if what you're hearing is just people stomping around or if it's
Right.
actually real or other than there was a couple of times when I went into some of the cells and I had like that that cobwebby feel. Like I walked in, I'm like, what the? I mean, you'd heard about that on the shows and things like that nature, but I was like, okay, I don't really believe that, but it does happen. I didn't know what it was. I'm like, I understand that sensation now. I don't know what it was per se, but I mean, I definitely had that in a couple of the cells when I went into them.
Mhm.
Other than that, like I said, it was really noisy, so it was hard to
Yeah, I've uh,
perform to.
like there have been times when I've gone out and done my Bigfoot stuff, and I think I'm like alone in the woods somewhere, right? Usually like just like two or three of us. We don't go like in a big group, and then like a group of guys from out of nowhere just pull up because we don't like go like to campgrounds, right? We like going like primitive camping.
Hmm.
But a lot of these spots other campers know about, and so they'll come there and they'll just be loud and kind of ruin the vibe.
Hmm.
But I'll say this: I think there's a lot of paranormal stuff that goes on in the woods more than what people either realize or uh, acknowledge, and I think it gets lumped in there with Bigfoot, and that goes with uh, the footsteps because we've heard footsteps in the woods, we've had stuff thrown at us, and knowing what I know now, I'm like, man, I bet a lot of that stuff was actually paranormal, you know, because a lot of these forests, you don't know what happened in the 1800s or even the early 1900s, um,
Well, right, yeah.
yeah, the Sam Houston Forest, it was at one time it was an iron ore mining camp, and these were men. You didn't cross these men, So there's no telling what happened out there, You know? So yeah, and not just that, but we've also come across a grave out in the middle of the freaking forest.
Hmm.
There was a grave, and it's actually I think it's two kids because it's very short, and they've got a headstone on facing each other. So I'm thinking it was probably two kids. But, yeah. So there's no telling what goes on. And I've had one of my friends. He's a Bigfoot researcher, and he was out there, and he found a tree structure, and he had his recorder going because he wanted to pick up any kind of audio, right, from like a Bigfoot, whether it's scream or wood knock. And he picked up something going shh, just like that. Just like, shh. It was pretty crazy.
Mhm.
And,
And we just got back from, we took a little family trip to Pennsylvania, and one of the stops we had was we went to Gettysburg, and that's just a really cool place in general. But like, I wish, they're most of the places, since they're federal parks, you can't go there at night because they're only open till sundown, basically. So I wish you could go out there and kind of just sit and like observe in the big battlefields and stuff to see if you
oh yeah,
could maybe hear phantom sounds, or in the rare occasion maybe see something, but they kind of frown on that, so you don't do that.
so are there like actual like entry points where you have to go in this road to get into there? You know what I'm saying? There's no back road.
Um, some of the roads and stuff you can actually drive through, but you're not actually really like in the battlefields. But the ones that are like the actual sites, like right now Little Round Top's closed, but like Little Round Top or Devil's Den or any of those, what's the Olive, Oak Hill, those battle sites, you have to go down this sign, and it has a sign that says park hours are sunrise to sundown.
Right.
And to you know so theoretically the park rangers they can patrol out there and look to see if people are out there after dark.
Right.
And oh yeah, and that's right, that's a good point. My wife's over there too. The some of the houses and stuff, the parks let their rangers live in them.
Right.
And so if you're driving around, you can see lights on in there because they actually have people living in them. So that kind of helps with that, kind of police that as well.
Yeah. Yeah, I know here
Um,
we have
Go ahead.
where I go is Samuelson Forest, and like during COVID it was closed, right?
Mhm.
But there's so many roads and so many back roads. We still went. I actually went and kayaked out on the lake. There was nobody out there. So it was fun. I didn't worry about anybody. But yeah, I mean, we still went camping. Like I said, it was closed technically, but we're like, and even the park rangers were weren't working. So I was like, ain't nobody's gonna come out here and check us out. So,
Then one of the, I don't know, it's not really like a well-known place, but so one of my friends that I know, he has some people that own a property in Gettysburg too. So the first night they weren't like open or anything, but I messaged them on Facebook. It's called the Haunted Trails of Gettysburg, and I was like, could we come out and like investigate your property, because they do that normally, like it's like Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday they do it, but we were like there on a Tuesday, and they're like, sure, come on out since you're friends with this guy. I'm like, sweet. So we went out there, and that was pretty, that was kind of that was probably the most active place we had. I mean, we did like the Jenny Wade tour and the haunted orphanage, but they're not really investigations, they're like tours with a whole bunch of other people. But their cellar down there was really weird. And then they actually have trails that go through their property too, where there's a Confederate soldier that's buried on the property. And I think there was a girl, maybe, or wasn't a girl or?
They found remnants of another soldier.
Oh, okay.
The government came and
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah, that's right. And they wanted to unearth one of them, and he told them no.
oh
He's like,
wow.
he's good here. He's been here for this long. He should stay here. They left him there.
That's good. Yeah. And what is the Jenny Wade story? I know I've heard about her before.
So she was there. It was what's basically kind of downtown now. At the time, it was on the outskirts of town, kind of close to where Cemetery Ridge is. But so she was just in her sister's house. It's actually not her house. Her sister had just had a kid, and her mother and Jenny were there trying to help. And she was just in the kitchen baking bread. she was leaning over, and a straight bullet went through the door, and just I think it hit her shoulder, and it ricocheted, and it pierced her heart, and she like just collapsed right there and died.
Oh, okay. Yeah. I remember that story now.
It's the only she was supposedly the only like civilian casualty of Gettysburg, but I highly doubt. I mean, there were
Yeah.
so many people that there was probably if you walked out your house, you get hit by a bullet. I mean,
Right. Yeah. Exactly.
that's true. They stayed, and well, a lot of people hid in their cellars, but oh yeah,
Yeah.
she was actually feeding the soldiers too. She would like she was very revered by the Union soldiers because she would go out and give them food and stuff while they were when they were in the area.
Okay. Oh,
They
nice.
were kind of devastated when they found out she died. They like picked her up and they were carrying her around and they were taking her in the basement and stuff, and they were taking care of her basically.
No, that's good. Yeah. Yeah. We have, being here in Texas, we have a lot of like Civil War stuff. Here too. We had the San Jacinto Monument, and there's actually tours that go on down there, which is outside of Houston, maybe I don't know 30, 45 minutes outside of Houston, and that's where like after the Alamo fell. I don't know how much Texas history you know, but after the Alamo fell, Sam Houston went and tracked down Santa Anna and killed him right there at the San Jacinto battleground.
Oh, okay. I did. I mean, I kind of probably heard that in school, but it's been a long time.
Yeah, and and the way they did it was freaking awesome. They basically ran him down, even though they were outnumbered. They just pushed Santa Anna's army. He was trying to get his men to get some rest, and Sam Houston was right on his tail. And so during the daytime, when Sam Houston finally stopped, his men slept all day, where the Mexican soldiers stayed awake. So when night came, they were just finally tired and they fell asleep. And like back in that time, they would put their rifles, like in that little teepee formation outside the tents,
Oh, okay.
you know. So when they
Hmm.
fell asleep, Sam Houston's army came in there, and I don't even think the Mexican army was able to get off a shot, So, but that whole area is said to be haunted, and soldiers there and stuff. But yeah, I think Civil War uh, places where battles happen. I think you can get a lot of energy there, good or bad.
Hmm. I mean, just if you think about the pure amount of just death that happened, I mean, it's brutal.
Right.
And that, like
And
one, I think it
right,
was
you know.
the battle of when the Confederacy was trying to scale Little Round Top to get to Cemetery Ridge, so they could like try to overrun the last high ground that the Union Army had. I think is what it was, and I think he said that the tour guide said that at one point in time there was like 5,000 dead bodies laying in this field to your right. I'm like, holy cow,
Yeah.
that's
Yeah.
just hard to like. You can't picture that. It's
Right.
hard to
Yeah.
fathom.
Yeah. There are places here in Houston that they had thousands of bodies laying out. And um, the hospitals just well, the one and only hospital, the real hospital, just couldn't do anything.
Mhm.
And they had one surgeon. And so yeah. So
Well,
yeah.
field hospitals, the field hospitals in the Civil War basically meant amputations. That's basically what that.
Yeah, and you were lucky to survive that. I guess
Mhm. Mhm.
if you didn't bleed out, you definitely got gangrene or what have you, and
Oh, right. You might die later, right? Yeah.
yeah, because they didn't wash anything. They didn't cleanse
Yeah.
anything.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it was bad. It was
They didn't
bad.
really have time for that.
No, yeah, and they didn't really know, I guess, either. But yeah, so you can imagine all the trauma that the Civil Wars kind of brought about to certain areas, and
Mhm.
why soldiers would still be there and hauntings and even the residual hauntings. And Gettysburg is a great area, I think, for residual
Mhm.
stuff going on.
There's probably a lot of residual stuff. Yeah, and that's kind of one of the reasons why I think it would be cool if you could just go out there and just sit in the battlefields and just kind of observe. But
Right.
it's not worth getting fined or whatever. I don't even know what the heck they can do to you. But
Mhm. Yeah. So when did you get started with Fort Wayne?
we've been with them for about a year and a half, roughly. I think it's approximation, but about a year and a half. I just found Denise online. Basically, we were we'd been doing all these things, and we kind of been doing them just her and myself, my wife and myself, and we're like, we really need a group
Yeah.
to help go to these places, and because let's be real, booking some of these places are pretty expensive.
Yeah.
And so I happened to find, I just reached out to her, and since they were in Fort Wayne, they didn't really have anyone in our neck of the woods, which is like the South Bend, Indiana area. So that's one of the reasons why they let us join in up with them, so they could expand their reach a little, I guess you could say.
Right. Yeah. That's good. And do you guys do private homes too?
Theoretically, I've never done one personally. I was supposed to do one.
Mhm.
No, I meant with them. Wait a minute. We were supposed to do one with them, but it was right before. It was in December, and the woman's one of the relatives had passed away, so they were dealing with that, so they had to cancel. And then they never like rebooked it again. But the Ghost Hunter Society of Fort Wayne, they do ones in the local Fort Wayne area for sure, quite often, I believe.
Okay. That's interesting. Yeah, I always find it more interesting when they do private homes or even private businesses rather than other big places. Even though the big places are fun and they seem to have a lot of activity,
Mhm.
to some degree, that stuff it's like okay, you saw this same entity that everybody else has seen.
Yeah,
Yeah. So
we
or
did.
you've had the same. Yeah.
I mean, my wife and I, we did do. This was, I don't even know how many years ago. It was at least 4 years ago, maybe. We like someone that she worked with that lived kind of close to us, that their place had weird things happen and stuff. So we went and like investigated their house for them one night, because it was just down the road from where we live. And
Mm.
I think the gist of it was basically it was something that was attached to like their daughters or something. Or it was like it was something with them. Yeah, but that wasn't what the gist of it was, I thought.
But it was, I said that it seems like it's attached to her or the children because
Yeah,
we
it's true.
weren't getting much of
Mhm.
anything. And the
Mhm.
things that were happening were absolutely crazy.
That's true. Like when we were there, nothing really happened. But they would have a lot of stuff happen when like the adult woman was there, and then her children were there, because her husband had stepped outside and killed himself one night. We actually lived close. We were home when that happened, so we didn't even know it happened.
Oh, well. So Pam Harris commented. She goes, "Hi, Brett and Amy. I'm from Fort Wayne."
Oh, hello.
And yeah, well, that's cool. I didn't know Pam was from. I see her around on Facebook. I didn't know she was from Fort Wayne. That's pretty cool.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm not from Fort Wayne either, but
Yeah, man. I think doing private homes is probably something I would be interested in doing. Yeah. I like that kind of I guess smaller venue.
Mhm.
Yeah. I think I would like that a lot. Even though I've gone out on bigger uh, venues. And I don't want to say bigger, but like I don't know if you've ever heard of the Haunted Hill House here in Texas, in Mineral Wells,
I
Texas.
have heard of it. Yeah, I've heard of it.
Yeah. I went there. That was a pretty cool little spot. I didn't get a ton of action, but we got some pretty good stuff going on. Uh, but there was like I don't know, 10 of us, something like that. And I guess it's a good little number, but I would like to do a smaller. Even though I lived in a house that had plenty of uh, activity. And Pam asked, "Did you go to Northrop or Northrop? You know what she's talking about?
I don't actually.
What?
North what?
Northrop?
Oh, Northrop. No. I went to Northwood High School in Napanee.
Hmm.
Go to North.
Oh, yeah. No, I've heard that. I've heard that, but no. That name sounds familiar. But
So what have you ever been scared? Is there anything you
well, it's kind of it's more in my head, but
Okay.
like this one place. But it's weird because it draws me. It feels like it draws me. It sucks me into it. And we're going there again on September 3rd. But the Monroe House in Indiana, here in Hartford City, Indiana, like there's things about that just like I don't know. It's an irrational, illogical in all terms, like fear of this place. And I think it's just because of some of the stories you hear. Like if I wouldn't have heard any of the stories, it'd be like every time we ever went there, we've had hardly anything ever happen to us, like literally.
Right.
But you always hear these stories where, oh, it's the demon house. I'm like, I mean, I don't think it is. It's not. I mean,
That time was when Eddie was telling you.
Yeah, and Eddie, yeah, the owner. Yeah.
What's happening? To people
Yeah.
left.
Yeah, they were. Yeah, that's true. That was, that was back when he was still checking us in and stuff, and he was telling a story. He would tell us stories like, "Oh, I think it's getting worse," and then he would tell you the stories of people that had been there and like they had all this tragedy happen to them like after they left, and I'm like one of them got like hit. They got hit by a train on the way home. I'm like, Jesus. but I don't know. Who knows if that's actually true or not?
When it's me. Hi.
That's my wife, Amanda.
He does get scared because that same night he said, well, we're going to go get dinner and let these other people in and then we'll leave.
Okay.
He wouldn't stay.
What about you? Have you ever been
He
scared?
gets scared. One time.
Have you? Oh yeah, where at?
The Indiana State Sanitarium or Sanatorium. It actually was recently. I've never seen anything and I'm a very skeptical person. Like there are strange things, but I don't know that it's ghosts or spirits or maybe it's just energy. I don't know. But we were at the nursing home portion of the Indiana State Sanatorium, and we were all just getting ready to sit down. And out of the corner of my eye, I saw something go across the hallway. And I swear it was, so, they say shadow people and creepers and they're blacker than black. And it really was. And it was bent over, kind of crossing its legs and its arms. And like, it was very creepy. And I've never seen anything like that. And it scared the hell out of me. And I stood up and I was like, I couldn't talk. And these people I was with, I didn't know. And I'm like, I promise I'm not one of those people who claims they see something and is crazy. I promise. And
Right.
No, it was very strange. I would like to go back, but I've never seen anything. And that was the first time I'd seen something. We've been doing this for 8 years. 7, 8 years.
Yeah, going back to like 16, 15, 16.
Yeah. So it was eye-opening for sure, because I've always thought that people are crazy when they say they see stuff like that. So
Yep.
Do you want to go back because you like the place, or do you want to go back and hopefully have another sighting just to get some confirmation for it?
yes. I just want to see if there's more or if something more would happen. Because it's, you swear you saw it, but in the back of your head, it's like, well, was it just a shadow? Was it just this? Was it that? I'm constantly second guessing everything. So,
Well, I think a lot of people do that when they have any kind of, whether it's paranormal or cryptid or even UFOs. They second guess themselves, like, did I really see that? Is that what really happened?
yeah.
And Pam is actually asking, have y'all ever been to? This isn't Amy, by the way, because I have her name on the thing. She's not here, but she says, have you and Amy ever been to Bell Mansion in Fort Wayne?
Yes, we have.
A few times.
A few times, yes. Amy's actually a volunteer there now, but we.
Okay, that's right.
No, it's not Amy. No.
Yeah.
We've been there a couple of times. One, like both. What was it like in March of this year and last year? Actually, both, I believe. So the past 2 Marches, we were there and we did like little private investigation there. It was like the Ghost Hunter Society people. It was just us, and then a couple of their friends. But yeah,
The have you been what's the name? I'm sorry.
it's Pam.
Pam. I don't know if she's been there, but the not the morgue, the embalming room is the only place there that I've seen anything happen, like equipment respond and whatnot, that I can think
Well, the main bedroom upstairs too, there where we went in.
Yeah,
we had flashlight activity in that one there.
But we had a lot of REM pod activity
Yes.
in the embalming room, where one of the guys in the group, he had one REM pod on one end of the room, and we had one on the other end, and it seemed to be going from one to the other, just kind of playing with us. It was very strange. Yeah.
And she also asked, "What's the best evidence you've ever captured?"
Well, she just said hers, but it wasn't captured. I guess that's more of a personal experience. I guess, but
Do you have anything on audio or video? Or
in terms of video and audio, it'd probably be something that, I mean, there's a lot of evidence we haven't looked at because we're just being honest.
We may have something.
We might have something earth shattering we haven't looked at.
You might have the Holy Grail, right?
Yeah.
And it's just sitting there on a computer. But one of the times when we were in, actually it happened twice on two different occasions at the Monroe house. We were using this program called Phasmobox. It's like a spirit box kind of, only it's like an app runs on a tablet. And we were in there and we got so the very first time we were just sitting on the couch in the main foyer basically, and there was 4 words that came through on it, which was, if you ever have heard the Phasmobox, it's weird to have that happen. And it said, "My name is Emma." And so she looked it up right away, and there was an actual Emma who lived there. And I've seen it actually on another show, the show, what's it, Paranormal Nightmare, the 3 brothers. They've gotten that name Emma before when they were at the Monroe house too, which is even kind of cooler actually. And then we went another time several years after that, and we were in another one of the rooms, and she came through again on using the same tool, the Phasmobox. She said, she didn't say my name is Emma, but she said Emma or something like that. And I was like, that was kind of weird. And we've had flashlights turn on and off with answers, and actually in the Monroe house too. We were asking yes or no questions, and it would turn on or off, and we would say thank you for the responses, and we were running the spirit box in the background. And one of the times when we said thank you, it said you're welcome. That was kind of cool.
Oh, nice.
We got a figure on the SLS camera in a closet at the Monroe house. We were there with a group from
Tennessee,
the South Pittsburgh Hospital. And it was just an empty closet. So with the SLS camera, you can sometimes get a false hit where it picks up like a piece of furniture and it thinks it's a person or whatnot. But this was just an empty closet, and there was a figure there, and it was there for
a long time,
like 5 minutes, responding to, can you move your hand? Can you, those types of things. So we had that, and then at the same time, someone else that was with us had a laser grid where they were getting hits, and then we also that same night caught a stick figure in the hallway upstairs. You remember that when what's his name? I can't remember his name. Todd was walking so there was the figure, and then Todd came out into the hallway and the figure stayed. Usually when you have something like that, it'll just disappear, but it stayed, and it almost seemed to interact with him. But one time we were at Waverly Hills, and Brent did not know it, but he had his arm up on a wall, and another woman and I had an SLS camera on him, and he didn't see it, but there was a figure up like in the corner by his hand. And then all of a sudden he was like, oh gosh, I think I touched a cobweb, and like we didn't tell him that there was a figure there. So the SLS camera I think has been interesting, and flashlight responses has really been a lot. Some dowsing rod activity.
Lately, the dowsing rod's been the best. Yeah. Well, and to add to that Monroe House story with the closet figure, one of the guys that we were there with, he got up and went in the closet to see if it would map him as well. And when he went in there, we were running that FASABox thing again, and it said,
right.
Back off or something like that. So I was like, okay, that's kind of weird. But
Yeah.
Yeah. You guys have never been to the Monroe Theater?
no, I don't.
That's in Ohio. Yeah, that's in Ohio. I heard that that's a really cool place to go check out too. Like how far do you guys typically go, or what's the furthest you guys would go out?
We just went to Crescent.
Well, we just went to Crescent Sanatorium and prison, and Gettysburg too. But we've also drove all the way down to Old South Pittsburgh Hospital in South Pittsburgh, Tennessee. That's the longest
Just
place.
north of Georgia.
Okay.
It's basically Chattanooga, basically. Yeah, I mean,
Okay.
you could when you're sitting on one of the hills, you can see Alabama because you're that close to Alabama too.
Okay.
That was a long drive.
What's funny is I actually got a job offer today in Ohio.
Huh.
So I don't know. It's in New Philadelphia, actually. I don't know if you guys know where that's at.
I haven't heard
Part
of
of Ohio.
It's like south of Canton.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, okay. So that's like toward yeah. I think it's
maybe a 2-hour drive south of Canton. It's out in the middle of freaking nowhere.
Mm-hmm.
Have you ever lived anywhere other than Texas?
No, always been in Texas.
That'll be a shock for you.
It would be a weird shock.
Yeah. Yeah.
The Midwest in the winter alone would be a big shock to you.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. I don't know about taking it or not. Like I said, I just got the offer. I talked to them last year, and they made me an offer, but I didn't take it. Then he called me back again. We've been in talks the last month. I actually had a job interview in Vegas. They flew me out to Vegas like 2 months ago. So yeah, but I didn't want to go to Vegas after I went to Vegas. I saw how fun it is to visit, but I'm like, I don't want to live here.
And so that'd be a better place to visit, but not live here.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. But yeah.
Now I know you do the Bigfoot thing. Have you ever went out and done like searching for like UAPs and stuff? Have you done that?
Oh yeah. I've done that. Like I said, I've done the ghost hunting thing too. I've done that a couple times. I lived in a house. We had tons of paranormal activity. Me and my kids, we've all been touched or poked at one time or the other. We all saw figures. Faucets coming on. We had the whole. Yeah, it was a crazy house, but it was nothing, like evil or with ill intent or anything like that.
Did you ever find out what it was?
We think it was the original owners of the house. They were the only owners of that house, period. And they died in their 90s. Both of them did. And after they passed away, their kids held on to the house for like 5 years. All the furniture was still in the house, and them being older people, they take care of their stuff, right? So everything was like really cool. So when we moved in, we weren't even there a week, and I felt like the bed go down. And I had a boxer at the time, and I thought it was him trying to climb on the bed.
Mm-hmm.
And he knew that he's not supposed to be on the bed, so I kind of sat up. I was like, get your ass off the bed, there was nobody there. And the second time that happened, I sat up and I was looking for him. He wasn't there, so I walked to the kitchen. The family's in there cooking. And I said, this house is haunted. And my kids were like, yeah, it is. They were just like that. And they started telling me all this stuff that was happening or they had seen. And I woke up one morning. It was like, I don't know, 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock in the morning. There was a figure standing right next to me, a black shadow figure.
Oh,
and
wow.
It scared the hell out of me. But it moved towards me, and I threw a kick at it. But like I said, it wasn't trying to scare me. I got scared,
Yeah.
And like I said, my kids say they saw figures moving around the house at nighttime. My son actually At that time, I was just new into the Bigfoot stuff, and my daughter saw a shadow go from one corner of her room to the other. She said it was really, really dark, super dark shadow. And I told my son, I said, hey, go get my recorder and we'll do an EVP session, right? I had never done one before, but I seen it done on TV, right? Well, me and my oldest daughter, we were talking and she was explaining to me everything that had happened. And all of a sudden, I see my son come and he's like white as a ghost, right? He's like, Dad, you got to hear this. His little butt went into the room and did a session by himself. And he came out. He's like, Dad, you got to hear this. And he pressed play, and you can hear him say, "Is there anybody here with us?" And you hear a voice go, "Yeah," just like that. Dude, that was so freaky. That was so freaky. But
That's crazy.
yeah, like I said, it was a fun place to. It really was fun. Like I said, we all got poked. I got poked in the ribs one day. It was like 6:30 in the morning. I was getting ready for work, and I was sitting on the edge of the bed. And you've all been poked in the ribs at one time, or poked somebody else in the ribs, messing around with them, and that's what happened. I mean, I felt someone jab me in the ribs. It was unmistakable jab. Yeah.
How long
It
did
was
you live
crazy.
there?
I was there 5 years, and then I got out of that situation. but but I understand there's still activity there in that house. Yeah,
That's crazy.
yeah, yeah. It was a crazy place. It was kind of a fun place though. Uh, my oldest, she was seeing this guy at one time, and after I had left that house, she called me. She's like, "Hey, Dad, I got I made some tacos. If you want to come by and grab some tacos," I'm like, "Yeah, I'll stop by." So I went over there, and she's telling me, "Yeah, he doesn't believe in all this stuff," so we started telling him, man, we had this happen, we had this happen, and I told him, I said, dude, I said the shower would come on. I said even the kitchen sink would come on, and as soon as I said that, the kitchen sink came on. And he stops and he turns around and he looks. And he was in the kind of construction and stuff. Uh, so he goes to the sink and he's looking around the top of the sink. He turns off the faucet. He opens up the bottom cabinets. He's looking under the cabinets. He's like waving his hand around, trying to figure out how that faucet came on. It was so funny. Yeah, yeah,
That's funny.
it was pretty. Yeah.
So when you do your Bigfoot stuff, where do you go typically?
Typically, I go to the Samuelson Forest, which is like an hour north of Houston. But I've gone to other places further north in Texas. Texas is so big. Like the 2 or 3 hour drive north of Houston, the Davy Crockett, the Angelina Forest. But I've been to Fouke, Arkansas. I don't know if you guys are familiar with Fouke, which is the Legend of Boggy Creek, which is where that was filmed. So I've been there. That's like one of my bucket list places that I wanted to go to. So
Have you ever
I got
gone
to
out
go
to
there.
Utah looking for?
No, I never have. I've never been to Utah. I've been to Oklahoma, Louisiana. You know, I like forested places. I don't know how much forest is in Utah, but that
Yeah.
doesn't mean anything either.
Yeah.
Like Utah seems to have a lot of UAPs and strange phenomena. I'm interested to go out there. But
Yeah, I was actually fishing in Galveston. Uh, I was on the jetties, and the gentleman I was with, he was maybe, I don't know, 20, 30, 40 feet to my right. He goes, "Hey, Joe, look, what's that?" And he points up to our left, and I look up, and we seen this round disc, maybe 300 feet above us. And I tell everybody, I think a professional baseball player could have hit it with a baseball. And it was just perfectly round, and it came right above us, and it was so slow, and it made no noise, no lights, no wobble, super smooth. We watched it for about 5 minutes, and this wasn't like a little light in the sky, a little orb in the sky. This was a craft. This was an actual craft that we saw. And even up until the day he passed away, he would tell people, "Hey, ask Joe if he still remembers." And I was like, "Yeah, I still remember."
well, the government has told us they're out there. So
Yeah. So yeah, and I've always wondered if that was something the government made, or if that was something from another planet.
Right.
Not from another planet, not of Earth origin. You know.
I
Yeah,
think
I've always wondered.
it's kind of strange. Like when you watch some of the stuff that happens, like there at the Skinwalker Ranch, it's like, they'll be doing their experiments, and all of a sudden, like, a Black Hawk helicopter will like be flying over their property. And we're like, what?
Mhm.
How'd they get? They're like, how did they get here so fast?
Right. Yeah.
You can make
Yeah,
me wonder if they have a military, you have a secret base somewhere that no one knows about.
right. Yeah. Yeah. I think a lot of that stuff goes on, especially, and with the UAPs or UFOs, whatever people want to call them.
Mm-hmm.
That and in the Bigfoot world too, there's been plenty of, Men in Black incidents, telling people to shut up.
Have you found any evidence?
Oh yeah, yeah. We found footprints. I actually found a 3-inch print, a little baby print, out in the middle of the forest in a creek. Right. I've also found an 8-inch footprint in that same creek. So now every time I go out, I go to that creek and I look in that creek for prints. And
Interesting.
I've only found, yeah, and like I don't know what it's like there where you guys are at, but here we have snakes everywhere. Like I bet right now the snakes are just loving this damn heat, And why would you walk off trail or have your kids walk off trail barefooted? I don't know.
Our snakes are a little different than yours.
Yeah, a little bit.
I think everything down here is trying to kill us. Even the jackrabbit.
Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, we've gotten howls and wood knocks. I've got a lot of this stuff recorded, on the audio. It was funny. I had a recorder out, and like I said, sometimes people will show up and camp, next to us, and we could hear them talking, but they weren't bothering us. But we could hear them talking. But I had a recorder set out behind where they were camping, and in the middle of the night, man, we heard these howls and screams going off. And so the next day, when I got my recorder and I was listening to it, you could hear one of the guys ask the other guy, "Have you ever heard that before?" Have you ever heard that before?
Mm-hmm.
And the other guy goes, "No, I haven't." Something like, yeah. But yeah, we found all kinds of evidence, and it's a pretty active area, and there's a lot of sightings there in the Sam Houston. So that's why I like going. It's only an hour away, so and I know like the 2 or 3 top areas there. So why would I want to drive further out to take a guess?
Right.
Even though there are a lot of places here in Texas that people own private property, and like when it gets colder or cooler, at least I'm gonna go and check them out. I'll check out the properties. So if I go on someone's property and they've had sightings, I like that too. It's almost at least I've got a good chance of picking up some kind of evidence.
Mm-hmm.
But it didn't mean to derail things. I was kind of curious at like what you do too. That's what I was thinking.
No. And like I said, I still think that there's a lot of paranormal stuff that actually goes on in the forest and what people think.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
Well, if you think about the years of Native Americans and down there, how, it went from Mexico to Native Americans and who knows, Spanish. I mean, there's a lot of history here that we don't know about. And just because nobody knows what happened on that property doesn't mean that nothing happened on that property.
Exactly. And that's really true for even in the big city. You don't know what happened, 100 years ago downtown Houston,
Yeah.
Even though we got buildings everywhere. There, I think our library is like one of the most haunted places in the United States, the Houston Public Library,
Yeah.
And there's like an area called Rice, and it's like a super rich area. They supposedly have a lot of hauntings there, but they don't let anybody in their neighborhoods,
Yeah.
check them out.
When you hear about buildings getting built on like, old Indian burial grounds and they don't know it, and then, then they realize after the fact, or maybe they did know when they did it, but now they didn't know it.
Right. And I didn't realize that Texas was one of 4 states where they don't have to exhume or dig up the graves to build over it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't know that. But Texas is one of 4 states that you can just build wherever you want to build.
And I think even in some of the states where you have to, they sometimes would just move the stones.
Right. Yeah.
And not necessarily do the extra work.
Right. Yeah. And that's why like some of the areas here in Houston are considered, highly haunted because of that kind of stuff. At least I think.
And throughout history, previous to like industrialization and all of that, sometimes people were just buried where they died.
Right.
not necessarily, this graveyard or even a burial ground, or,
Yeah.
people were buried in their backyards
Right. Yeah.
for hundreds of years. So you just
Yeah.
don't know.
Yeah. Yeah. That's what the family plots were.
Right.
Yeah,
Like,
for sure.
yeah. So who knows what you have on your property, and you have absolutely no idea.
Yeah, and that's what I say about the Sam Houston. You don't know what went on 100 years ago, but I mean, even in recent times, with serial killers or stuff like that, you don't know who's buried out there.
Sorry, I'm into true crime, so
Oh, are you?
the serial killers thing, I'm like, well, yeah, there's a lot of that.
Yeah. I mean, like in the Sam Houston forest, is like I tell everyone jokingly, but it's true. You could put a T-Rex back there, and you'd never see it.
Yeah.
It's so thick.
Oh, wow.
The brush is so thick. The trees are so tall. Yeah, it's like going into a different time sometimes.
Yeah, I mean, never mind. I won't say it. So maybe I need to start picking out some spots. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah, y'all should probably do that. Find you a nice thick forest and just park.
Oh, to dump a body, or
Well, I'm not saying that. I don't want to be an accessory to a crime here.
You heard it here first. No,
Yeah, you heard it here first. Yeah.
yeah, you just don't know. And there are things that happen just in a home that you don't know about. Like in the Monroe house example, is some of the theory is that these kids in this house were abused, and abuse, trauma creates energy and things like that. And so what I find amazing is when you have these historically haunted places, or places that, what was it, Lake County Jail. Like John Dillinger escaped from there. So when people go investigate there, they think they're looking for John Dillinger. In reality, why would he be there if he is a spirit? Like, that's just one place that he had been in his life. Like, but there are people who died there or had other stuff happen. And
well, one of the things we
people
covered there was a cook in the kitchen.
Yeah, it was interesting. But people just jump to the most notoriety or the most notable person, and not necessarily the other 300 years of history of that spot.
Right.
You never know. Like, people just make the assumptions, and then they feed off of that, and
you get a one-track mind, or like, someone famous was there.
The chances are that it's not John Dillinger trying to talk to you.
Right.
It's probably the guy who was in jail for robbing a bank and died and had a heart attack. You know what I'm saying? I'm just.
Yeah. Or something bad happened to him there in the prison,
Yeah, it amazes me how people shockingly seem to find the most famous people that are haunting them.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
it's like some of the people that do the past lives. They'll tell you that they were, Cleopatra.
Right.
You got 500 people.
Yeah.
Yeah. I thought that's funny. But when you're talking about, like, stuff that happens in people's houses, a friend of mine, he and his wife, they were driving to her dad's house, his father-in-law's, and they saw a house for rent. They pulled in, and they they saw the sign, and they got there. The people were remodeling the kitchen, and they asked about the house, and 2 weeks later they wind up moving in. As they're moving in, one of the neighbors across the street comes over. Hey, you got Jack's house? He goes, yeah. He goes, I don't know who Jack is, but I guess this is his house. And he goes, yeah. He told him because Jack died there. He had terminal cancer, and he decided to end it all. Right. So my friend was it was already night, and he's flashing the lights off and on, trying to scare his wife. He's like, Jack's gonna get you. Jack's gonna get you. Well, after that, I mean, that house went to shit fast. They were like haunted like terribly haunted, like scared to death. This thing was like after them, and my friend, he still to this day, this is man 26, 27 years ago, he still blames himself for that. He thinks
Like he
he
upset them.
yeah, yeah, because he was doing that. Jack's gonna get you. Jack's gonna get you. And I didn't want to lie to him. I told him, I said, you probably did. You probably did something silly, and you invoked something, or you created that bad energy. And he's like, dude, because even his daughter was scared to death. Yeah, it was crazy. It was so crazy.
And don't mock the dead, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it was a crazy house. They even his father-in-law was walking the dog, and he would pass up his street, go down to the next street, then come back around.
Okay.
But when he passed up his street, he saw a man standing in the middle of the road looking at Richard's house. He was wearing a black hat and a black trench coat, And when he came back around the corner, the guy was walking away. And when he got to the corner to see where the guy went, the guy was gone. The guy disappeared. But he had actually saw that man in his house one day. He was sitting down watching TV, and he passed by the bedroom door.
Wow.
And yeah, his wife got home, and she said she found him on the couch asleep, holding the shotgun. But still, to this day, he blames himself for that. Anytime I talk to him, I bring it up. Like, I should have never done that.
Yeah.
Jack's gonna get you. Jack's gonna get you. I don't do that.
There was when you're talking about that, the renting the house, there was this, not real far from where we lived. We were driving by this. There was a house that had a for sale sign on it, and then they hung a sign below it said "not haunted."
That's funny. And that means it's haunted.
Yeah.
Right.
Like, well, that means it is. Yeah. I don't know if it had taken. It was for sale for a while, so, and it was like an older farmhouse, I think. So I don't know if maybe there was a rumor going around that it was haunted or not, but I just thought I saw that and I'm like,
that's not something you see every day.
That definitely doesn't scream that it is haunted. But
yeah, that's not convincing.
No. Yeah, no, nothing to see here. Nothing to see. Yeah.
Oh, shoot. Well, guys, we're already coming up on the end of the hour here, man. Is there anything you guys want to add, or anything you want to say, promote your group, your contact information? I don't know if you want people contacting you or not.
Well, the Ghost Hunter Society of Fort Wayne is, I think they're on all the social media platforms, the Facebooks and Instagram. I don't have TikTok, but they're on TikTok too. Okay. And from there, like from the page of the group, you can see all our individual information on there too, if you want to.
Yeah, they do investigations, and we do investigations, and if somebody, personally, I enjoy trying to help somebody more so than trying to get a thrill. So,
what do you guys have coming up next? Do you guys have any trips planned or investigations planned?
We have two coming up. The September 3rd, we're going to the Monroe House again for like the 87th time. And then
maybe he'll stay the whole night.
And then after that, we have then the one in South Bend. It's a new property called the Haunted Bird Cell Mansion or something. It's Corbin Bentley is kind of like in charge of the property. It's in South Bend, Indiana. We're going to be doing that one too.
And then
Ashmore stays right before Halloween, and that'll be it.
Nice. Hey, so what do your friends and family think about all this?
That we're nuts.
Okay.
I don't. My mom does it. She, like I said, she had all those experiences at that same house that I had my first one in. So she's actually going to go with us on that one in September 22nd in the bird cell. She's going to go with us to that one.
Okay.
That'll be her first one.
Okay. Good.
My family thinks we're nuts and make fun of us.
That's true.
And but strangely enough, family-wise, my brother passed away in 2016, and shortly after that, we were actually at Ashmore Estates, which is about 20 minutes half an hour from where he lived, and I was doing a flashlight session with some other people in the room. Nothing was happening. They left, and then it started answering questions like where it would turn on for yes, off for no, that type of thing. And after about 15 minutes and a series of questions, I started, I'm like, is this a man? Woman? Are you attached to the property? No. Are you attached to me? Yes. Type of thing. Then some other people came in the room and it stopped responding. They left. It started responding again. And then Brent came in and it still was responding. So then I asked, is this David, which is my brother? And it, it flashed on. So it seemed like some of the things, it seemed like it was him contacting me. And John Zaffis was at that event that we were there for. And I was asking him, I said, do you, am I crazy? Am I putting this in my own head type of like thing? Or, but he said, if you think about it, he knows that you do these things, right? You're there. He knows you're open to it. What better time is there to contact you?
Right.
Like, okay, that makes sense. We'll go with that. So then there's been a few times where from the answers, it has seemed like maybe it is my brother contacting me, and it has nothing to do with the property. Like I said, like it has nothing to do with property, has to do with me, and that I'm open and looking for these things. And then recently my aunt passed away, and we were at, it's called the Davies House in Kokomo, Indiana. And we basically got absolutely no activity there. And then we're in the basement. We started doing a flashlight session and we were getting answers.
Dowsing rods.
And then the dowsing rods, somebody was using the dowsing rods. I wasn't holding them. We're asking questions. And then when things seem to not add up to the history of the location, I start asking, are you attached to the property? Are you attached to one of us? And when I said, because I wasn't holding them, and I said, who are you attached to? And the two dowsing rods, Brent was on one end and I was over here. They just go like this. And they point, one points at me and one points at him. And so then I was, asking questions like, is today a significant day for you? And it said, yes. Well, nobody in that room, including Brent, knew that the day that we were there was my niece's or my cousin's birthday, my aunt's daughter's birthday.
Oh, okay.
Some of those things where it's like, I still don't know if it is real or if it's just you're interpreting things the way you want to interpret them or things like that.
Right.
But
At a minimum, it's a strange coincidence.
some of those things are just strange because they're questions that we ask that are just weird questions sometimes, and the answer's right. Like one time we asked when they said it was my brother doing dowsing rods. My family is a football, baseball, basketball family. And so I said, well, we just put Carter in soccer. Are you happy that we put Carter in soccer? And it like the dowsing rods like basically just shot like, no,
Oh.
absolutely not. Like soccer is the one sport that the kids were not allowed to play. So just
that would be me.
but like weird things like that where I just don't know. You never know. But yeah, so maybe some of the family supports it now that they're on the other side.
Yeah.
But they're the ones that were making fun of it before.
That's
so who's the joke on then? I don't know.
Yeah. Well, that's a good. I'm glad you guys shared that story. That's a good story. Like I said, we're coming up to the end of the show.
Mhm.
Don't hang up yet. I want to tell you guys something off the air. And everybody else, thanks for joining this show and participating in the chat. I do appreciate that. And I'd have a show next Monday. I don't remember who it is, but I have a show next Monday. So you guys tune in. All right. Everybody have a good night.